This is 6 minutes. I've even started a timer. So we're only going to take 6 minutes of your time here.
Yeah, that's
So,
good, you said.
who here has helped their customer with a contact center evaluation?
Awesome.
Okay, fantastic. Well, the purpose of this session today is to help your customers with their contact center evaluation. There are a ton of providers out there, and making sure that you have the right processes and tools to support your customers is really going to set you apart as partners and ultimately help your customer choose the right partner. Now, before I jump in, I should probably do an introduction. My name is Laura Clone. I lead sales in the West for Vonage. I've been here for 10 years and I've helped hundreds of customers with their contact center evaluations.
And I'm Kristen Veronica. I'm on the enterprise sales team based out of Atlanta, Georgia, and I've been at Vonage almost 11 years. So we've done a lot. I mostly sell contact center, and we're excited to meet with you today.
Okay, and I'm going to pass this right back. We're going to start with preparing for the contact center evaluation and defining success. So, Kristen, how have you seen customers successfully prepare and define success?
It's a really great question, Laura. First, you want to start out by asking the why. Why is the customer looking for a new technology? Why are they open to an evaluation? And when you start there, it really opens up the door for a very successful evaluation process. You want to know what you're marching towards and what those end goals are going to be, why this technology can help solve those problems. Then you want to move into the what. What are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to solve for? And then you move into the who. The who is all about resource allocation, budget, and also the people. I think the people part of this is often overlooked. So who's going to be doing the evaluation? Who's going to be using it? And then really getting to know those end users and the problems that they're having.
Thank you. And the one thing I would add is process and timeline. I don't know about any of you, but I've worked with customers who did not have a clear process, did not know their internal process, or didn't have a timeline. And we've spent a ton of time working on this project. So it is good to understand that on the front end so that you know the time investment on your end for the project, as well as making sure the person you're working with understands their own process to get the project signed, which is where you make money. So asking the right questions. So Kristen, talk to us about asking the right questions.
So when asking the right questions, it's all about what are we trying to accomplish? How are we going to do that? And you want to make sure that you're not only interviewing your customer for all of these answers, you really want to interview the suppliers like us and ask them all of the details. What are some of those great questions you're going to ask the suppliers, Laura?
Can they do what the customer wants? Right? And I'll tell you the truth, like, no one wants to waste their time working with a client if they can't do what the client needs. So just ask the vendor directly, hey, this is my customer's requirements. Can you meet that? That's going to be the number one thing. And then ask your client, I call them forecasting questions, right? Making sure you understand, okay, who needs to be involved in this decision? Who signs off on this? What's the budget, right? Making sure you understand, again, how you close the deal is going to be important on the front end of the sale. Smoke tests, POCs, and pilots. I don't know about you guys, but we do a lot of pilots and POCs. And I'll tell you, we know what makes them successful, and we've seen a lot of them fail as well. So can you define the difference between these three things, and then we'll talk about how to make them successful?
Yes, absolutely. So starting with a smoke test, this is going to be, will this work in your customer's environment? Maybe doing a quick managed package install of the contact center inside of Salesforce, for example. Doing a quick smoke test, does the technology work in their environment? Number two is a proof of concept or POC. This is done in a pre-sales engagement before the customer signs the contract and is generally done to test out a variety of different success criteria. And we highly recommend it's clearly defined before starting the POC. And the last one is pilot. And this is typically a pilot production model. It is done after signing the full contract. And generally, there's some sort of out clause if the success criteria is not reached. So those are the big three. So now what do we do, Laura?
Keep it simple. and do it with one partner first. If they fail, then move on to the next one. Don't do 3 or 5 different POCs. Features. So features are super important, but they shouldn't be driving the evaluation. And I think that's the most important thing. Understand what is the customer's outcomes they're trying to achieve so that they're not necessarily buying on the cool, sexy features that they see people show them. People buy technology because it looks cool, and then they don't use it and it doesn't meet their requirements. It doesn't help them drive their business forward. So focus on the outcomes first, and then find features that help them to achieve those outcomes. Recap. Tell us what they learned today.
Biggest things, define the process very clearly up front, write it down, and get buy-in from everybody at the customer site, right? So you want to get buy-in from the technology leaders, the business leaders, and an executive sponsor before starting the engagement. That'll really help set the project up for success. So define the process. What next, Laura?
Discovery is the most important part of the evaluation. If you don't do the discovery right, then you're probably going to have a hard time closing the deal. And also make sure you have the right people in the room and executive alignment. There is somebody that ultimately needs to approve that project and needs to sponsor that project. And if you don't have them bought in or in the room, there is a risk that you just don't close that deal. So that is all we have for you today. Thank you all for being here. If you do have any questions, we are around, happy to answer them.